Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. One of the questions I get asked more than any other is, what peptides do you actually take? Not just what I talk about, but what I personally use, why I use them, and what I've noticed. And if you were completely new to peptides, where would you even start? So today I'm walking you through my personal routine in the exact order I think makes the most sense. Now, I do want to say this up front. This is not medical advice, and this isn't telling you what you should take. This is simply what I've chosen to use, why I personally use it, and the results I've noticed in my own life. Everyone's different, and the foundation, it should always be sleep, nutrition, exercise, stress management, and working with a qualified healthcare professional when it's appropriate. So for me, peptides are not magic. They do not replace the basics. I weight train at least 4 days a week. I usually do every other day, to be honest. I prioritize getting enough protein every single day because your body needs those building blocks to recover and to grow. I really focus on sleep, on hydration, and consistency. That's first things first. The peptides, they just simply help support everything that I'm already doing. So let's jump into the order I'd recommend looking at them. So step one, you need to fix your sleep. That's where DSIP comes in. So if someone asked me where I'd begin, my answer is almost always going to be, how is your sleep? Because if your sleep is terrible, everything else becomes exponentially harder. Your recovery will suffer, your hormones will suffer, your cravings will increase, and your workouts aren't as productive. Your brain just feels foggy. That is where DSIP comes in. So DSIP stands for Delta Sleep Inducing Peptide, and it's designed to help support deeper, slow wave sleep. Notice I said deeper sleep, not necessarily longer sleep. So for me, the biggest thing I noticed wasn't that I slept 12 hours or anything crazy like that. It was that I actually woke up feeling like my body had fully recovered. I felt like my sleep was restorative. I use my Apple Watch to track sleep. So I was getting 20 minutes of deep sleep after my bout with pneumonia. Awful. And using DSIP, it jumped to about an hour and 15 minutes. That is a huge and very, very noticeable improvement. So when my sleep is good, everything else, it gets way easier. So I generally look at DSIP as a short-term tool, something you might use for like 4 to 8 weeks just while you're improving your sleep habits, instead of something that like you would stay on forever. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If your foundation is not solid, adding more peptides, that's usually not the answer. So step two, you need to support your brain. That's where Selank comes in. So once my evening starts winding down, like around 5, this is when I like using Selank. So it is one of my favorite neuropeptides. Its primary purpose is just helping promote a sense of calm without making me feel sedated. I don't personally feel high or anything like that. I don't feel drugged in any way. I simply notice that my mind slows down. And as someone who owns multiple businesses, creates content every day, and is constantly thinking about the next project, my brain rarely shuts off. So Selank, it just helps take that edge off. It helps me transition from work mode into evening mode. I've also noticed that when I'm less anxious at night, I tend to sleep better overall. So for me, Selank has become part of my evening routine because it just helps quiet my mind. And that is invaluable to me. So next, that is repairing your mitochondria. So once sleep starts improving, I like to focus on energy. Not caffeine energy, but cellular energy. So SS31, it just really helps stabilize the inner membrane of the mitochondria. So those little engines, they can function more efficiently. Personally, I don't notice SS31 like drinking an energy drink or anything like that. It's subtle. For me, it feels more like I recover better, my workouts don't wipe me out as much, and I don't hit that afternoon wall quite as often. So it's one of those peptides where the benefits, they build over time rather than hitting you immediately. So next, we need to build better mitochondria, and that is where MOTS-c comes in. So once you've improved how your mitochondria functions, MOTS-c helps encourage your body to make more of them. That's why I think these two, they just pair well together. MOTS-c is often described as an exercise-mimicking peptide. And no, it does not replace working out. You still have to lift. You still have to move. But it appears to help improve how your body responds to exercise and how efficiently it uses energy. So I weight train at least 4 days a week, usually every other day. So I found that MOTS-c fits really well with that lifestyle because I feel like my endurance during workouts, it improves and I recover a little better between sessions. Again, consistency, that matters far more than any peptide. Next, we need to stay focused with Semax. So around 10 a.m., sometimes late morning, early afternoon, this is when I like using Semax. So Semax is another neuropeptide, but it's very, very different than Selank. While Selank helps me calm down, calms my mind, Semax, it helps me lock in. So when I have a day filled with filming videos, editing, answering comments, running my businesses, or recording podcasts, Semax is one of my favorites. So the biggest thing that I've personally noticed is improved focus. I don't necessarily feel stimulated, maybe in the beginning when I first started using it, but that kind of goes away. I never felt jittery. I just feel mentally clear, like I can handle anything. It's almost like the mental clutter, it quiets down and I can stay on one task longer. I also avoid taking it later in the day because I don't want anything interfering with my sleep. That's why I prefer it around 10 in the morning. So for me, Semax and Selank, they really complement each other and they do it super well. One helps me stay really productive and the other one just helps me slow down. Next, let's talk repairing of injuries. So BPC-157, that's all about repair. It's probably one of the most well-known peptides out there for sure. I know you've heard of it. BPC stands for Body Protection Compound, and it's commonly used to support soft tissue healing, healing of tendons, ligaments, muscles, and it also has research looking at gut support. So because I lift regularly, recovery really matters. So I've personally used BPC when I've had nagging aches from training, especially my shoulder. The biggest thing I've noticed is that those little injuries, like the one in my shoulder, they don't seem to linger as long. Like if it flares up, I will hit it with BPC and it'll go away. Again, that's just my personal experience. I still rest, I still recover, I still don't train through any kind of serious injury at all, but BPC has become one of my staples. And then for system-wide recovery, we're looking at TB500. It's the peptide that I pair along with the BPC. So think of BPC as being more targeted, and TB500, it works more systemically throughout the body. So it's involved in supporting cell migration and tissue repair. And for me personally, I feel like these two work together definitely better than just individually. So when my training volume is higher or I'm recovering from something, that's usually when I notice the biggest difference. There's less lingering soreness, better recovery, just feeling ready to train again. Next, let's talk gut health, KPV. So people don't always think about gut health until something goes wrong, but your gut, it affects so much. We're talking, it affects inflammation, digestion, immune function. That's huge. Recovery. So KPV is a peptide that helps support the gut lining and calm inflammatory signaling in the body. I've gone through periods where my stomach just did not feel right. We're talking digestive discomfort, bloating, food not sitting well, constipation, or inability to have a bowel movement unless I used like psyllium or a high-dose vitamin C and magnesium. Basically laxatives, even though they're natural. I've struggled with that since I was a teen. KPV has been the peptide that changed all of that for me. Gut issues that I've struggled with for decades are now gone. No bloating after eating, no constipation, ever. It's one of the things I've kept in my routine because I like supporting my gut while I'm asking my body to recover from hard training. KPV has been amazing for me. Next, we're talking skin, hair, and collagen, GHKCU. It's probably one of my favorite peptides for appearance, for sure. So this is also known as the famous copper peptide. It's commonly used to support collagen production, skin quality, hair health, and just overall tissue repair. One thing that I've personally noticed is that my skin, it definitely just looks healthier. It's more glowy. It has more of a bounce, especially when I've leaned out. I've kept a lot of the volume, which is amazing. So when you lose weight, sometimes your skin, it doesn't always keep up. Same thing with your hair and weight loss for sure. I've noticed that my hair has improved. I've had way less shedding and more shine, even more thickness. I will say though that it causes your body hair to grow faster as well. So I paid a lot of money for laser hair removal, like on my legs, my underarms, bikini areas, mustache. And after years of it being gone, it is now growing back because of the GHKCU. So this stuff, it really works. I also feel like GHKCU has helped support my skin, hair, and nails, like I said, while losing body fat, and that is super important. I also like the fact that it's working from the inside rather than just relying on creams, but it does sting at the beginning. It went away from me, but it can also leave some pretty nasty welts and bruises. So what I use to mitigate that, it's just more backwater during injection and injecting slower, as well as using Benadryl cream and massaging the area after injection. Also using a longer needle can also help. Now let's talk NAD+. It's not a peptide, but it's a peptide adjacent therapy. I've used this and I really like it. So NAD stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and it's something your body naturally produces. It plays a huge role in your cellular energy, metabolism, and just your overall cellular health. So as we age, our NAD+ levels, they naturally decline. That can impact everything. It can impact energy, recovery, brain function, and even how efficiently our cells repair themselves. So for me, NAD+ was less about something I could see and more about how I felt. So I noticed improvements in my overall energy levels, for sure, mental clarity, and just feeling more resilient day to day. It's one of those things that supports your body at a foundational level rather than giving you a dramatic overnight change. So I think of NAD+ as something that supports longevity, cellular repair, and just overall vitality, especially as we get older. Next is glutathione, and it's another one I've incorporated. It's often referred to as the body's master antioxidant. So it plays a major role in things like detoxification, reducing oxidative stress, and supporting immune function. So this was something I used more for overall wellness and recovery rather than just like a specific aesthetic goal. Some people definitely notice improvements in skin, in clarity, or even brightness. But what I personally appreciated most was how it supported my body behind the scenes. So especially when it comes to reducing inflammation and just helping my body recover. Notice the pattern? Recovery is very important to me. So glutathione is great on its own or alongside the NAD+. They pair really well together because they both support cellular health, but in different ways. Again, this is something I'd describe as a quick fix or dramatic transformation, but more of a foundational support for just long-term health. Next is growth hormone support. So this is CJC-1295 with Ipamorelin. These are not growth hormones. Instead, they encourage your pituitary gland to release more of your body's own natural growth hormone. So the reason I placed this later is because I think people sometimes jump straight here, but if your sleep's terrible, your nutrition sucks, you're not training, and you're not getting enough protein, you're probably skipping the things that would make the biggest difference first. And for me, when I was using CJC and Ipamorelin, I felt like my recovery between workouts was really improved. I also liked using it during periods where I wanted to help preserve muscle while leaning out. So everyone responds differently though. Some people absolutely love this peptide. Others don't notice as much. Others don't feel good on it at all. It did make me feel really odd or off at first. I got facial flushing, I got mild headaches, but it went away after a week or so. But a lot of people don't want to invest feeling bad to feel good, and I get it. And if you ever take anything that makes you feel that off, stop taking it. Before I wrap up, I also want to talk about something I get asked about constantly, and that is Retatrutide, or what people just call Reta, or that Ratatata. I've actually used all 3 of the major GLP-1 medications. I've used semaglutide, tirzepatide, and Retatrutide. And out of all of them, Reta ended up being my personal favorite. Now, this is just my experience. Everyone responds differently, and what worked best for me may not be what works best for you. So for context, again, I was already doing the work. I was lifting the weights at least 4 days a week. I was prioritizing protein. I was staying active. I was eating in a calorie deficit. However, as a perimenopausal woman, I hit a point where those last stubborn 20 pounds, they simply did not want to come off, no matter how consistent I was. And that is where Reta really made a difference for me. One thing that people are surprised to hear is that I stayed on a very low dose the entire time. So I used between 0.5 milligram to 1 milligram, and I never felt the need to continually increase it. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they just keep increasing, they get all these side effects, and they think it's working better because they feel like crap. That's not the case. So in total, I used GLP medications for only 6 months. Today, I've actually been off of them for about a month. One of the biggest changes that I've noticed isn't just the weight loss. It's what happened after I stopped taking it. So before I started the GLP-1s, I constantly thought about food. I had what many people call food noise. I would think about my next meal, snack, or craving far more than I wanted to. There were definitely times where I felt like I was fighting the urge to overeat, and that sucked a lot. Now, even after being off of it for a month, that constant mental chatter around food, it still has not come back. For me, that's been one of the most meaningful benefits because it feels like food no longer has the same control over my thoughts that it used to. Of course, I still make intentional choices. I still prioritize protein. I strength train. I hydrate well. No medication replaces good habits. I don't look at Reta as something that did the work for me. I look at it as something that helped me finally break through a plateau while supporting the healthy lifestyle I was already committed to. So if you're considering any GLP-1 medication, my advice is not to expect it to be a miracle. You need to use that time to build habits that you can continue after you're done. Learn how to eat enough protein. Lift weights to preserve muscle. Stay active. And work on your relationship with food. Because in my experience, those habits are what help make the results last. So if I had to simplify everything into one sentence, it would be this. Build your foundation first. Sleep, protein, weight training, hydration, managing stress. Then you use peptides to support those habits, not replace them. If I were starting completely over today, my order would be DSIP, Selank, SS31, MOTS-c, Semax, BPC-157, TB500, KPV, GHK-Cu, NAD+, Glutathione, and CJC-1295 with Ipamorelin, and a GLP-1 if you struggle with weight issues. But remember, this is simply what has worked for me. Your goals may be completely different than mine. Some people are super focused on injury recovery in the PEP space. Others are focused on fat loss. Some people just want to sleep better or have better cognitive performance. The nice thing is there isn't one perfect protocol for everyone. The goal is to understand what each peptide is designed to do, to build a solid foundation first, and then make informed decisions based on your own goals. So if you found this video helpful, Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know down in the comments which peptide you'd like me to cover in more detail next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.